This video contains 10 minutes of TeNi footage, with 1-minute segments per sample.
You know, presidential campaigns are designed to reveal character under pressure and over time. It's why people like you ask tough questions, and it's up to candidates to answer those questions. So Mr. Trump got asked tough questions by a lot of people on Thursday night, but he chose to attack Megyn Kelly. And so on Friday night, I put out in a statement, Mr. Trump, there is no excuse. And I think that's true. I think voters are going to have to decide that. But I think you cannot have a president who is thin-skinned. If you think a question is tough, imagine the pressure of actually being in the Oval Office. And that's why I think, as crazy as this presidential campaign process is, it does, in fact, give voters a window into how people respond under pressure over time. Well, I think women of all kinds are
support of Democratic candidates, and he said either you're with us all the way on gun reform, or I'm not going to support you. Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders, has a history on this. He has in the past voted to protect gun manufacturers from liability. Is this a shot across the bow at Bernie Sanders? Change his position on gun manufacturers in order to have your support and you out there campaigning for him? Donald Trump right now is the Republican front runner, no doubt about it. Let me ask you, is he qualified to be president of the United States and a leader on? Putin has called Trump an outstanding and talented personality, and Trump has said about Putin, at least he's a leader. You deal an awful lot with foreign leaders. How would you see Trump on the world stage? If Hillary Clinton should lose Iowa and New Hampshire, is there any way that you would possibly take another look at this race?
Absolutely. I feel like that's my role for Mitt, especially when he's going through such a difficult time. I'm there for him. We're there for each other emotionally. He writes Dad on the piece of paper. And that's amazing because he loves his dad, respects his dad, doesn't want to do anything that would not make his father proud. And just a reminder, what you've taught me, what kind of a person you are, and I'm going to honor that. And so I love the fact that Mitt does that. So he writes, was that good? Was that okay?
Well, what do you do?
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know, I don't. Ooh, I don't do any of that. Working in very troubled situations, turning around troubled situations. His whole life has been in the private economy. He understands job creation. He understands the difficulties of an economic decline. He understands what's missing in an economic.
This is probably one of the most common questions I get from women. If he likes me, why doesn't he call me back? We had a great date. It happens all the time. A woman has 1, 2, 3, 4 dates with a guy, and then he seems to fall off the face of the planet, going off radio completely. And they're thinking, was it something I said? Well, here's what you need to know about male psychology to understand how they work. Men don't commit because they found the one that you might be, right? Instead, they commit when they hit a certain state of readiness. Now, what creates their state of readiness? It may be age, it may be their financial situation, their level of education, it may be peer pressure. Maybe all their peer guys are getting married or getting serious girlfriends at that stage. So the most important thing I want to tell you as a woman is if he doesn't call back, don't take it personally. Isn't that rule number 1 of life? It's always about something going on in his life. But if you spend your energy trying to get one guy to like
of the film, yeah. I mean, it's so complicated. I mean, it's darkly funny, it's shocking, it's scary, it's creepy as anything I've ever seen, and I think it's genuinely a shocking movie, which is, it's kind of hard to shock people these days, but this one seems to do it. I was shocked every 10 pages. I couldn't believe what was happening in front of, my eyes, and then seeing the movie with an audience was that experience, times 10. Like, you actually just can't believe what you're seeing in the film, and to hear the audience responding with these like gasps and vocalizations, it's
culture. We're uncomfortable with the idea of things being missing. We feel like if things feel missing or if there's some emptiness in our life, we immediately want to go out and fill it. So I wanted to use someone's relationship and they're leaving into another relationship to sort of illustrate that. And at the same time, I wanted to really dive into how delicious desire can be and really experience that visually. And so a lot of the film was trying to capture that feeling.
Career. I just looked at it as a really short-term thing. I could hire a bunch of students to clean these empty apartments and then it would be over. But we did really well and the students really loved the job. So I wanted to keep growing the company and I did that throughout my senior year. I almost had to drop out of school because it was just so much work. And when I got offered that dream job that I always thought I wanted, it just wasn't exciting to me, you know, and it was New York, investment banking, six-figure salary, the thing that you hope you get when you graduate. But I was just so excited about this cleaning company. And I turned the job down, and everyone except for my family, they thought it was nuts. They couldn't understand why I turned it down. They were all my peers and my age, and I didn't know how to separate myself from them as the leader. And I failed tremendously. That first summer, 45 of the 60 quit. Wow. And I was able to get them all back, and we finished that
place down for you.
And the headlines were nuts. I mean, the headlines like, Berkeley braces for Shapiro visit. Really? Was I the one who's going to be smashing ATMs? It's the furthest extension of political correctness. That when you say something, that it's not just me disagreeing with you, it is me destroying your identity as a human being in a way that is akin to violence. Very, very outspoken against the alt-right. I've said the alt-right is a garbage movement composed of garbage ideas, that it has nothing to do with constitutional conservative under very public circumstances, because Breitbart had been turning itself into a Trump propaganda arm, and the alt-right really liked President Trump, or then candidate Trump. Well, I mean, aside from the 7,400 odd anti-Semitic tweets that I received from March to November of last year, you know, death threats in the mail, death threats on my phone, death threats at my business phone. The stupidest thing I have legitimately ever heard. I keep hearing this, and I keep wondering, was it the yarmulke that gave it away? I found a paper from when I was like 10 or 11 talking about the Clinton impeachment, so I assume that I was into it even then.
Well, you borrow my brain for 5 seconds and just be like, dude, can't handle it. Unplug this bastard. Yeah, because it fires in a way that is, I don't know, maybe not from this particular terrestrial realm. Wow. And then what? What's the cure? Medicine? Make me like them? Not going to happen. I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what? If I'm by like radical people like Sean Penn and Mel Gibson and Colin Farrell and just radical people, and they're not telling me just to see. It's oftentimes says unknown, but occasionally a giant marquee name comes through on your caller ID, and it's like winning. They're whole different realities. You know, there's great things about both, but what I'm harnessing now is absolute, focus. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. It's exciting. I've come back from a place that, people can put labels on it and they can figure all this stuff out. They can try to normalize it, boring, stupid, and
our country's in real trouble. And I don't want to one day walk my 5 grandkids through the charred remains of this once great country called America and say, here you go. This is it. $20 trillion of debt, a world where people are being beheaded because they're Christians, jobs scarce and moving away and making it hard for Americans to earn a decent living. We can do better than that. We've always done better than that. And I'm prepared to lead because I've done it before and I understand what it means to make tough decisions, follow through, and get results. I don't think the presidency is an entry-level job. I don't think it's a job somebody just walks into and learns when they get there. And having been a governor for 10.5 years in a very, very tough state where the Clinton political machine dominated the landscape, I know what it's like to go into a corrupt and hostile environment. Whoever goes into Washington as president is going to go into a very corrupt and hostile environment. But if you know how to lead...
Track. Look, this was a political speech in an age where we need problem solving, not more bloviating. America's the most powerful nation in the world. Yay! Well, what good is the power if we don't use it wisely? What good is it? Chaos in the Middle East. Iran takes advantage of us. China melting down economically.
So we're going to become the world's policeman? I mean, that was the president's point.
No. We should be protecting those poor refugees who are starving in Syria. Why isn't NATO doing that? All right? Why? Nobody can answer the question. So I'm tired of bloviating political BS. I want a problem solver in the Oval Office next time around.
So you're
criticized, all right? And this is, and that was the strongest point President Obama made last night. Knock it off.
Yeah.
Knock the ideology off. We got serious problems here.
But Bill, there's
leads to problem solving. If Trump ran as a standard politician, he'd be at 6%. Trump accurately gauges the mood of the country, is reflecting that mood in the Republican precincts, and may very well win the nomination. All right, so he's doing that to win.